I'm a native English speaker, and a very noticeable mistake that I see most English learners make, especially those at the intermediate level, is speaking too formally to the point where they sound robotic. Even if your grammar is 100% perfect, if you sound too formal or if you sound robotic, it can come off as very, very unnatural to native English speakers. Native English speakers follow several unwritten rules that have to do with the rhythm by which you speak in English. These unwritten rules in English are almost impossible to teach yourself out of a textbook or to learn through formal education. Today, I'm going to show you the 3 secrets that will make you sound more fluent and more natural when you speak in English. Now, if you're new here, I am a native English speaker and I needed to learn the French language for a bunch of different reasons. I'll never forget a time where I received a compliment for how good my French was, but in actuality, it was kind of an insult. When I was speaking in French to some of my old colleagues, one of them said, "Wow, your French is really good. Like, it's actually amazing. You speak almost as if you're speaking French perfectly." At first, I was happy and I was proud about my current level of French, but then I realized what they actually meant. What they really meant is that I sounded like a textbook. I was speaking with perfect grammar and grammatical rules that native French speakers do not even follow themselves. I was speaking kind of like a robot, and it sounded very unnatural to the native French speakers. I was so focused on being grammatically correct that I forgot to actually speak and sound like a human. And this really just comes down to rhythm. To give an analogy, I learned French like a list of ingredients, but I didn't actually have the recipe. The recipe is the rhythm and the flow and the music in your voice when you're speaking in another language. Native speakers of English or any language do this naturally without even thinking about it. So I went through a phase where I got a little bit obsessed with trying to speak more like the native French speakers in the specific region that I'm in. And it led me to cracking the code on how to speak more naturally and more like a native speaker. This is obviously much easier to do with immersion, but this can also apply to those who are trying to learn English remotely as well if you do these things correctly. Now, we can break this down to a simple 3-letter acronym, RCC. It simply just stands for rhythm, connection, and collocation. So the number one secret is just, as we put it before, rhythm. Typically, in a sentence, native English speakers such as myself emphasize the nouns, verbs, and adjectives. The small filler words that aren't really nouns, adjectives, or verbs are usually not emphasized when we speak. For example, instead of saying, "I want to go to the store," we would say something like, "I want to go to the store." Now, if you're watching this video and your native language is French, Spanish, Portuguese, or something similar to that, maybe Italian, this doesn't apply to you as much as someone whose native language is Japanese, Mandarin Chinese, Korean, Punjabi, or a language from Southeast Asia. This is more of a common mistake for people who speak tonal languages. So if you speak a tonal language or a language from Southeast Asia, please keep this in mind. The native English speaking rhythm is completely different than your native language. And I'm sure you've already realized this, but please continue to emphasize this in your English learning journey. And the next secret or unwritten rule is connection or sound linking. Now, keep in mind, native English speakers, such as myself, are extremely lazy when we speak in English. In this YouTube video, I am intentionally speaking pretty clearly and kind of slowly so that you can understand everything that I'm saying. But if I were to connect all the syllables like this and speak and sound link with everything that I say kind of like this, then it's a little bit more difficult for you to understand everything that I'm saying if I'm using sound linking and connecting all the noises of the different words that I am using. As native English speakers, we use sound linking to speak faster and smoother and save ourselves a bit of time. As I said, native English speakers are pretty lazy when we speak in English. We always look for the shorter way to say something with less syllables. So, for example, instead of saying, "What are you doing?" we'll just say, "What you doing?" Or instead of saying anyway, we might say anyway. Or instead of saying, "Hello, how are you?" we'll just say, "Hey, what's up?" Now, it's much easier to pick up on these things every day if you have English immersion, if you're actually living in an English speaking region, but you can still do this if you're learning English from your home country that is not an English speaking region. You're just going to need to make sure that you're listening to realistic conversations among English speakers on YouTube videos or podcasts alike. And the third secret is collocation. This is really what separates advanced English learners from intermediate English learners and beginner English learners. If it is raining very intensely outside, most people who do not speak English as a first language will say something like, "The rain is very strong today," or something like that. Most native English speakers will say, "It's raining very heavily," or "There's heavy rain outside," most of the time. This is something that's very difficult to pick up without having a lot of experience interacting with native English speakers or having a lot of experience listening to realistic English media on the internet. Being able to associate the correct adjective with the correct noun or verb is something that really comes with experience and really will be the difference between you sounding like an authentic native English speaker versus you sounding like someone who speaks intermediate English and doesn't. So, if you do ever want to get to the advanced levels of communicating in English, I would definitely be mindful and pay close attention to using collocations correctly. So, to recap, the first secret is rhythm. Be sure to emphasize the nouns, verbs, and adjectives of what you say instead of the filler words. The filler words don't need any emphasis on them when we speak. Number two is connection, or in other words, sound linking. If you want to sound like a native English speaker, learn how to sound link all of your most common expressions that you use in English. Also, pay close attention to how native English speakers use sound linking when they speak with each other. And third is collocation. Understand the correct adjectives or the most commonly used adjectives that are associated with certain verbs or certain nouns. For example, "It's raining heavily outside" instead of "It's raining really strong" or "It's raining really hard outside." Most native English speakers would use heavily instead of strong or hard to describe intense rain. That's one of many examples, but this really just comes with experience. This is going to be hard to pick up out of a book or almost impossible to learn out of a book. And it's almost impossible to pick up out of a book because there are many different variations too, depending on specifically where you are in the world. Australian people speak differently than British people, who speak differently than Canadians, who speak differently than Americans. But honestly, these three intangible, unwritten rules, rhythm, connection, and collocation, are really what separates advanced English learners and advanced English communicators from intermediate English communicators. So if you want to speak like a native English speaker, this is it. If you can do these three things, you will sound like a native English speaker. So if you're someone who studied grammar a lot and you're really good with English grammar and you want to translate that into really good speaking skills, really advanced speaking skills, be sure to do these and you will definitely see a lot of results over time. If you found this video useful, be sure to like the video to let the YouTube algorithm know that this video is useful for other people who are also trying to improve their English skills. If you're new here and this is the first ARC English video you've watched, be sure to leave a comment down below letting me know where you're from and what your native language is. I'm always very interested to know. If you're a returning viewer, let me know how your progress is going with learning English and let me know if you have any questions in the comments as well. And very soon, I will be releasing a free training lesson showing you how to increase your level of English faster than most other English learners. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a link somewhere in the description or the pinned comment below. And if you want to learn the 3 most productive ways to break through from the intermediate plateau to the advanced levels of English, be sure to watch the next video on the screen.